This is an unbelievable story. So after the three of you reconnected, it turned out that you had all been living just 45 minutes from each other your entire lives, and you never knew it. Take us back to that first moment when you reconnected. I mean, how did it feel, and were you similar to each other?
Well, since you guys saw the film, so first Eddie and I met. And I had gone to school, and everybody was calling me Eddie, and it was bizarre. And after a while, it just came so bizarre. I was like, no, I'm not Eddie, you know, leave me alone. And then this guy named Michael, who's a great guy who knew Eddie from the year before, who was in the teaser that you just played, knew Eddie was adopted and knew his birth date. So his first two questions for me were, what was your birthday and were you adopted? And when I told him, he said, I think you've got a twin brother. Wow. So I'd already taken on this really surreal, nuts quality, and I just went with it. And I called Eddie, and we had this very rational conversation. Yeah, I look like you, same agency, okay. You know, we agreed to meet, like later in the week. And and then as soon as we got out of the phone booth, we decided, no, let's go meet now. And we met then, and then it hit the newspaper. And it
was like you guys had known each other all your life.
Everything was the same. We just compared notes.
It was such a beautiful reunion, but at the same time, you and your parents knew that something was off because...
But then David,
you know what,
gets involved.
Yeah, right. So so Eddie and I hit the newspaper, right?
And somebody shows me the newspaper, and it just looked too surreal. Maybe the photo was a little bit grainy, but the headline was identical twins reunited after more than 19 years. Yeah. And I kind of looked at it and said, nah, couldn't be. And then
the brightest bulb on the truth.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
Go ahead. I'm going to catch you for that.
Well, get back to the story.
So a very close friend who's in the film, he's known me since I'm 4 years old, and he just came up to me shaking. And he said, you got to look at this. This is real. And I realized, yeah, he's right. So I went home, I showed the newspaper to my mother, and I tried to get either one of them on the phone. Bobby had an unlisted number. I called Eddie's mother. I called Eddie's house. Said, can I speak with Eddie, please? And I guess Eddie's mother was inundated with the press at that time. So she was like, who's this? And I went on to say, well, I'm looking at a newspaper, and I think they're not twins. I think I might be the third. And I remember her dropping the phone. My buddy remembers her saying, oh, my God, they're coming out of the woodworks. So then, Bobby's 125 miles away, up at an institution of higher learning, Community College. Hey, there you go.
Now I'm going to get you back.
It's all right. What are the odds of the two of them going to this obscure college upstate New York? Lousy grades. So, I couldn't reach Bobby, and Eddie and I decided we're going to meet that night. My family drives out to Long Island. My father's hitting everything, trying to park the car. I just get out while it's still moving. And Eddie's house was kind of up on a hill. It was like some steps going up there. And he had a storm door, and then he had the regular door. And he's doing what I'm thinking. He's opening up the door, going, oh, my God, and closing the door. And I'm thinking, that's what I'd be doing. And I see him in silhouette, because it's like dusk at this point. And by the third time, I had gotten up the steps, and I opened up the storm door. So he opened up the wooden door, and I was nose to nose.
So it's like looking in the mirror.
Yeah. I know. I said, guys, slam the door in my face. I haven't seen you in 19 years.
This is like, it's beautiful, and it's amazing that you guys got together, but there's also a really dark, macabre element to this, which is that the adoption agency actually had researchers coming to you and your brother's homes to research the impact of nature versus nurture with triplets.
Well, what happened was each of the parents had adopted a daughter. Yeah. Okay? And to go through an adoption is a big deal, and it still is today.
We both have adopted sisters.
So, yeah. So,
as I found it so interesting, the nature versus nurture part of this.
Well, what they did was they approached the parents again and said, would you like another child? But this one has already been enrolled in a study that we're following them. Just a normal developmental study. So our parents didn't say no. I mean, can we come and drop by and visit every so often?
Why?
While they're holding a baby in their hand? But the answer wouldn't have been no.
They didn't have twins. They just had one kid each, right? And people were coming in and asking questions, and they easily said
so they separated all of you intentionally.
You know what? Yes. I think at that time, adoption was so difficult. Yeah. And an adoption wasn't... Baby. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it was anything that they said, they were going to say absolutely. Yeah. And an adoption wasn't final until a year
off. The researchers that are in the wrong here. Right. It's the researchers that were in the wrong.
Well, I do want to point out, just because we've mentioned him so much, is your brother, Eddie. And if you watch this documentary, which I highly recommend you do, he's no longer here, and he took his own life. But what what a life he lived and the way he lit up a room. If he were sitting at this table today, what would you both want to say to him?
We'd be glad that he'd be sitting at the table.
We'd probably be making fun of him. Like, who gets out of a moving car? But anyway.
Are you all kibitzers like this, all three of you?
Yes.
Well, he just did a joke, too. You're a joker. I can tell you're a joker.
Totally ignored me, right?
But the crazy thing about this is
well done, actually.
adoption agency didn't just do this with them.
Yeah.
There were several, and they're not sure how many
There were
families.
more than several. That's, I think, part of the reason that we had to do this film.
And with all this research, do they know whether nurture is more important than nature? That's what we want to know.
I love your
What
response.
did they find out?
They've never
published the studies,
and
right?
won't tell them anything about what they.
But there are tons of pages of research, so maybe somebody will.
Well, I highly recommend everyone watch this because it is fascinating, and we're so thankful for you guys to be here today. Our thanks to David Kellman, of course, and Robert Shafford. Be sure to check it out. 3 Identical Strangers is premiering on January 27th on CNN, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Who wants to kick off 2019 with an extra $5 grand? Find out when we pick the winner of The View's $5,000 New Year Cash Sweepstakes next.